y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Today we're going to talk about some more 2020 favorite reads. The genre is just YA, whether it's YA mystery, thriller, horror, romance. It's just YA. We're going to talk about those today. I have a few honorable mentions that I'd like to talk about just because even though they weren't necessarily... I may have been 5 stars, not necessarily 5 stars. They just, like I said before, they just sparked something in my brain. And when I see the title and I'm like, yes, I really did like that book. Like I remember that book and how I felt reading that book. So we're going to talk about those first. I just have 3. I don't really remember what ratings I gave these originally, but we'll talk about the horror first. This is my best friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I've really enjoyed his horror books, even though they're very disgusting at some points. I really did like them. There was just something about the way he writes. I don't know, there's just something about it. I just really enjoyed the 2 books that I did read by him. But this one's based in the 1980s. Love a good 80s reference. I'm all about it. I was born in 77, so I grew up mostly in the 80s. Most of my teenage years were in the 90s, but loved the 80s era. And I love the 80s vibe and feel we got from this book. The only thing, I was not all about the whole possession thing. I'm not a big possession person. It was a little too drawn out in here. It was just a little bit too much. I was just like, let's move on. Like, the rest of the story was really what engaged me. So we have 2 best friends that have known each other since a very young age, and they're in high school, and they end up going to someone's cabin. Gretchen and Abby are the 2 friends, and Gretchen ends up like going missing like the night that they're in the cabin. And when she finally like just shows up the next day, she's very different. And her differences, the way she is starts to progress into her becoming like this different person. There's a part of her that is like screaming for help, and then there's the other part that's possession part of her body is becoming more and more taking over her body, I guess. So she's definitely just not herself the more the book progresses. The only thing, and another thing I didn't really like is like, no, of course this is the 80s, so nobody was interested in what Abby had to say about her friend Gretchen, whether, you know, that she was worried that something might be wrong. She tried to speak to her parents, Gretchen's parents. A lot of back and forth with that. I didn't really care for that either, but I just really enjoyed the story of the 2 girls and their friendship, and how the possession and the exorcism, how it weighed on their friendship. And I just enjoyed just their story. But it was fun. It was great 80s vibe. Love the characters. Yeah, it was fun. And I mean, look at the cover. It looks like a VHS tape. Love it. Next little YA mil romance. I read Date Me, Bryson, Keller by Kevin Von Way. I think it's Y. I don't know. I think this was his debut book, and it was phenomenal. I'm pretty sure I gave this 5 stars. I loved it. I love a good YA coming of age, coming out kind of story. So we have Bryson Keller, of course, who is the heartthrob of the school. And then we have Kai Sheridan, who is more just average kid at school. He's trying to keep his sexuality to himself. He knows he's gay. He hasn't come out to his parents. He hasn't come out to anyone at school, not even his friends, but I think his friends kind of suspect. Anyway, they're at a party. The book begins with they're at a party one night, and it's known that Bryson hasn't really dated anyone because he feels like dating someone in high school shouldn't be a thing, because you both go to school, you probably go to different schools, so you end up breaking up one anyway, so it's like, what's the point of dating in high school? So his friends like dare him to date the first girl that asked him out every week. So like you have to approach him like every Monday of the week. I think this is like until it's like there's a time period. I don't know if it's till school ends or whatever, but so every week someone has to get to Bryson before anybody else, and he's gonna date that person for a week. Well, I think it comes to like the last week or something like that of the dating dare, and Kai doesn't mean to ask him. Like, Kai actually doesn't really like Bryson. He actually has a crush on someone else. But all these events happen that makes Kai dislike Bryson. And he's so aggravated one day he just blurts out, "Date me." Or, you know, and so it's cute, it's fun. You know, Bryson, of course, he like takes it on. They become like kind of good friends, and feelings start to happen, and Bryson starts to maybe understand why he was never really attracted to any of the other girls. What was he attracted? Maybe he's bi. He's starting to get these confusing feelings about Kai. So he just kind of goes for it just to see if that's what he wants. But anyway, it's a really cute story. I really had fun with it. Yeah, good one. And then lastly, these are in no particular order whatsoever. I just really enjoyed these books. Now, like I said, they weren't necessarily 5 stars. I think I did give this one 5 stars. But anyway, this is Heartstopper. This is volume 1 by Alice Olson. Love, love, love this cute little story of these two guys. It's a graphic novel. So we have Charlie and Nick. Charlie is gay. He's out in school. And then we have Nick. He thinks he's straight. You know, he never really had the opportunity to date a guy. And then one day they actually meet. They are in the same class. They become friends. And we sort of watch how their relationship grows and how Nick's feelings feel a little bit more than friendship. But he's confused. He's not sure what's going on. He doesn't know what these feelings mean. So it's really cute and heartwarming. It does kind of leave you hanging, so you want to go on to the second book to see what happens to the two guys. But really, really cute. I really enjoyed it. Did I do this? I haven't read the second one yet, but it will be happening soon. All right, on to my top 5 favorite young adult, whether it be romance, mystery, thriller, horror. It's right here. Coming in at number 5 is Swipe Right for Murder. I loved this book. You don't hear a lot about it on BookTube anywhere, but every time I see it in Barnes and Nobles, I like think about it, and I think just like I get like this happy feeling, and I just remember how I enjoyed it. This is by Derek Millman. This is also a sort of male sort of, it's not a romance, but it's LGBTQ+. This is like a mystery suspense sort of novel. Our main character Aiden is gay. Aiden basically hooks up with a hot older guy, which ends up just to be sort of like a catastrophe, a wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. From there, the book takes off. And it's like non-stop action. Aiden is running from like the FBI. He's mistaken for like a terrorist. There's a cult situation involved. He gets himself in all sorts of kind of ruckus. And along the way, he meets like this hot guy on the train. And this hot guy sort of ends up playing a role in the whole situation. It was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And you don't hear a lot about it, so I definitely wanted to include it in my favorites list because I want to put it out there. It's definitely a good read. And coming in at number 4, we have All These Beautiful Strangers by Elizabeth Clifford. I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed this book. It's sort of, the synopsis really doesn't do it much justice, because in the synopsis you think this book is going to be some sort of game happening at this prestige sort of high school, you know, upper class sort of high school. But the game is really just in the background. The main story, we're following a young girl named Charlie. She's 17 years old. It's a story of like just family lies, deceiving friendships, it was really, really good. Like I said, the game is in the background. It's there, but it's in the background. I don't even remember much about the game. But we have timelines here as well. So we follow Charlie in present time. She's 17 years old, going to this prestigious like high school. We follow her mother, Grace. I don't remember how far back we follow her, but her mother actually went missing. She disappeared years ago, and Charlie has always wondered what happened to her mother. Her body was never found. So as we follow Charlie through present time and then her mother, Grace, in past times, we of course in the end come to the truth about everything, about what happened, who was involved. It was just really good. I kind of surprised myself with this next book. This is coming in at number 3 for me. I mean, I love this book. It would have been, I love the book because of what it is and what it reminds me of. It's not necessarily the best read I've ever read from this author. And I know there's a lot of people that don't necessarily like the Twilight series, but I particularly loved the Twilight series. It came to me at a time where I needed it in my life. So Midnight Sun by Stephanie Myers is coming in at number 3 for me. And number 3 only because I just felt it was way too long. So this is basically Twilight retold from Edward's point of view. Edward is a vampire. He has lived a long life. He has lots to say. It was very interesting and at the same time very boring. Of course I gave it a 5-star because it's just, like I said, it brings me back to a time when Twilight was in my life and I loved every minute of it. I still love Twilight. I still watch the movies. Even though Bella annoys the shit out of me, I love it. I even named my cat after annoying Bella. I don't know where she wasn't here, but she left. I haven't actually reread or listened to the audios in a while, but I had them on repeat so many times in my life. I can't even tell you how many times I've read the Twilight series. But yeah, I was just really happy to get Edward's side of the story. But like I said, he's a vampire. He's old. He's lived a long life. He knows he has a lot to tell us. But I really enjoyed getting the story from him because from Bella, we just kind of get, you know, what she's feeling and what she thinks Edward's feeling. And we don't really get the full sense of Edward's feelings for Bella, although you know he loves her. But in Midnight Sun, you really see how much he loved Bella with his whole being. Yeah, what can I say? I loved it. Coming in at number 2, I don't have the copy with me because I borrowed Debbie's book, but this is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Caesar. I love this. This is a YA horror. Absolutely loved it. He really didn't beat around the bush when he wrote this with this book because at first I thought it was going to take a long time to get to the actual of what's going on in the story, but it was really quickly. So we follow Quinn. Her and her father moved to this little town called Kettle Springs. There's a creepy mascot of a clown called Friendo the Clown. On her first day of school, Quinn finds herself in the middle of like the popular group of kids, and from there that's where the action starts. They go to like this party that's happening, and Friendo the Clown makes an appearance, but he's not a very friendly Friendo. It's a massacre. It was, I hate to say that it was so much fun because it was such a massacre and so many kids got killed in this book, but it was crazy. I wasn't expecting, once again, to like it as much as I did, but I really did enjoy all the mayhem that was going on in this little town. And then at the end we get such a fun little plot twist that I was not expecting at all. So I had a great time with this one. And then number 1 for me is Like Never and Always by Anne Aguirre. I kept this on my TBR shelf forever. Finally picked it up sometime last year. Why? I don't know. I just looked at the cover and I'm like, I think I want to read this. But this book had everything in it for me. It had teen drama, it had mystery, it had romance. But what I really liked about this book and what I wasn't expecting from this book, it had like the spiritual essence. It wasn't necessarily paranormal, but there was like some spiritual stuff happening in this book. So we start off with Liv and her friends getting into a car accident. When Liv wakes up in the hospital, she, after much confusion, realizes that she is in her best friend's, Morgan's, body. So she looks like Morgan, but in her mind, in her head, she knows she's Liv. So she goes on to live Morgan's life, trying to figure out why this happened. She starts getting like these little hints of something from Morgan, and she realizes that Morgan had some very, very dark secrets that she now needs to set right. It was the best. Like, I did not want to put this down. I think I also listened to this book, and the narrator was phenomenal, did a fantastic job on this book. I loved it. Alright y'all, so that is it. That is my favorites in the YA genre, whether it be mystery, thriller, horror, romance, whatever. It's all in the YA category. Have you read any good YA books last year? Let me know, because I love a good YA story, especially a good YA mystery. So let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations for me. But thank y'all so much for watching, sticking around, and listening to me blab about my favorite books. More favorites to come. It's taken me a while to get there. I know all this should have been done in January, but it looks like it's gonna leak into February, but that's okay. But hope you're all doing well and staying safe out there. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all very, very soon in my next video. Bye y'all.